Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to take a look at another tier list, but today we're not looking at Premiere. I know everybody out there under the sun is looking at this for Premiere or Limited or Draft, but let's take a look at the list for Twin Suns. I spent a lot of time playing Twin Suns, actually, honestly, more than I do Premiere lately, but let's dive right into it. So, kind of talk about the cards here for a minute. We'll talk about some of the uses, what my thoughts are as far as whether they're viable, where they're going to be placed, if there's any good leaders, synergies, things like that you could pair with them. And it hurts because some of these, like, there's not really any super duds here, but they're, I mean, compared to some in the past, they're still like useful. They have good abilities, but they're not. Obviously, there's always going to be standouts in the set, so I mean, it's going to be very clear, just at face value, what some of them are. But to put some thought behind it, let's start off with Holdo. So Holdo, um, she really relies on the resistance package, which doesn't exist yet, in order for her to do well. So what we're looking at is she has an action ability. It costs 1 and to exhaust. Give a resistance unit or a unit with resistance upgrade on it, +2/+2 for the phase. Now, for the unit side, on attack, you may give another resistance unit or a unit with a resistance upgrade on it, +2/+2. Okay, so it's kind of wordy. Deploys on 6. She's a 3/8. But really, there's only 21 resistance cards currently out there in any set. So not only does it need a lot, I mean, she's late for Twin Suns. There's really only 2 colors that pair super well with it. But the good thing is with Twin Suns, you can have 3. You can play out aspect. But based on just that, I mean, you have to play command. You have to play aggression. And with those 2, I mean, I'm going to place her in the hopes and dreams segment, because it's really what it's going to take to get her going. You know, she's not the worst leader, but she's not. I don't think of any pairing out there is really going to make her better, because there's not much that you could really pair with it. Maybe if you do like a rebel and resistance package, you have a little bit of both. But I mean, really, to make her shine, she needs way more resistance to get her going. Next one, Admiral Trench. So Admiral Trench, I had high hopes for him, and I started thinking about this. He does have some upside here. So that upside, what that's going to look like is it's going to be him paired with any other leader, and really you're going to rely on him to, filter the cards in your deck there. I really don't like that idea, but that's really what it's going to take to get him going. But with him, his action, discard a card that costs 3 or more from your hand. If you do draw a card, he deploys on 6. He's a 4/5 on the backside. He's a little different because his backside isn't an epic action to do it, but you do still need to have 6 or more resources. So he actually costs 3 and an exhaust to flip. And when he flips, it says, when deployed, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. An opponent discards 2 of them. Draw 1 of the remaining cards and discard the other. Honestly, I mean, it's not great. In Twin Suns, the games go between resource 5 and 7 before the games are over. I don't see a ton of use for them, aside from filtering your hand to get better. Honestly, there's a lot better leaders out there in the cunning aspect. You know, you have Django, you have a lot of people like playing Thrawn. Even in this set, I'd almost want to play Rio Durant over playing Trench, but I mean, you really have to kind of build around those 2 differently. I'm strictly gonna put him in could be better, just for the simple fact that I like the fact that he can filter through your cards, draw you another card, get some of those things out of your hand that are big, especially, if you mulligan. In Twin Suns, I don't feel that having to make a turn 1 play is as critical as in Premiere. So sometimes you can let that go. If you keep a higher hand, this will help you filter some of that out. You really can pair him with anything, but do you really want to? I mean, that's really the question you got to ask yourself. Next up is going to be Akbar. Admiral Akbar. I wanted to kind of play with him a little bit just to see what we could do, but I started playing through the ideas in my head to think about what I wanted to do. But his action where you tap one, exhaust him, and then you exhaust a non-leader unit. If you do, its controller creates an X-wing. So tapping down something could be critical at some point in the game, but giving them a 2/2 space unit, I don't know, that kind of sits wrong with me. I'm sure that the benefits are there every once in a while, but he's a 6 deploy, 3/8. On the backside, on attack, you may exhaust a unit. If you do, its controller creates an X-wing token. Now, this, you might get a little more mileage out of it. You could, exhaust something of yours. Maybe use it as a political piece, to try and, get others on your side. But I'm just not feeling it. So again, I'm going to put Akbar down here in the hopes and dreams. I'm not going to doom and gloom everything, but I know there are a few leaders that are just kind of down here, But that leads us into the next one. So I'm very high on Grand Admiral Thrawn, and a lot of people are. So Thrawn, he's one of those ones that he's not gonna be everybody's favorite, but when you can double up and get your defeat triggers twice, that's huge. Just exhausting him. You don't have to tap and use an action. You don't have to do anything else. You could just do it when it's convenient for you. So, I know there's 35 when defeated cards. I went through, looked at all the sets after this set comes out. There's a great amount of cards that do a lot of different things. Some of the ones that I think that are going to make the most sense are the Onyx TIE Fighter unit. The new Chimera is going to be huge. Pairing him with the Krennic, new Krennic unit. The Onyx Brute was what it was. The Droid Missile Platform and the Shadowcaster. So those are all cards that are really going to allow you to take advantage of this deck. In my mind, I kind of want to already do a Grand Admiral Thrawn and an Admiral Piet just to see how it plays out. Getting the double triggers, getting the reduced capital ships. I think that'll be pretty awesome. For me, I'm gonna put him in S tier for Twin Suns. I know a lot of people are riding high on him in Premiere. I just think just for getting double triggers, yes, you're getting it only when he's the leader side once, and you get it once per turn, but you also get it again when he's deployed. So really, it's he's the same. He's uniform across both sides. He's a 4/7. Unlike in Spark the Rebellion where he was a 3/9. If I remember correctly, you're just getting more oomph out of him than you did the first time. I have a few friends that still love playing Grand Admiral Thrawn and Twin Suns, but there's just so much bang for your buck here. Now, Lando. So, I don't have a lot to say about Lando. Lando's the highest deploy in this entire set. He's the only one at 7. His action, you exhaust one, exhaust him, play a unit from your hand, paying its cost. If you do, you control a ground unit and a space unit. Give a shield token to a unit. There's a lot of things going into that. Not only do you have to fight the 7 deploy. Yes, he comes out as a 5/5, and on his backside, he's a Sentinel. Attached unit is a leader's unit. Attached unit gains Sentinel. When deployed as an upgrade, you may give a shield token to a unit in a different arena. I get kind of what they were going for here. With him being gold leader, trying to take charge and looking out and trying to protect and get to the Death Star. But I just don't see how this can be super useful in a Twin Suns game. Maybe pair him with Chewbacca. Some people may want to do something like that. For me, I don't want to have the best deck all of the time, and no deck is going to be the most efficient at winning. But there's a lot of decks that are fun, and I just don't think that 7 deploys have a good spot right now in Twin Suns. He's going to be tough. He's super restrictive. You have to have a balance of space and ground. Yeah, he allows you to play something so you can kind of even it out. But what if you're not drawing something? He's a dead leader. Dead in the water. For his ability. It just it's not something that I wanna take a chance with. Maybe down the road he'll have more pieces, make him a little bit better, but I just don't see what we could get in future sets that could make him more viable. He's gonna hang out with Akbar and Holdo down here. So actually, let's rearrange this a little bit. I think that Akbar has his uses compared to Holdo, and if you remember, all the reason Trench is up here is because he allows you to filter. To me, that's kind of important. Next up is Boba Fett. So we've already had 3 different Fett units, 2 villain, 1 hero, but this one I think this one will have a big following around him in Premier and Twin Suns. But in Twin Suns, he's going to be huge. So right off the bat, one of the things that I think is going to be impactful is to play him with Grit. He could also be paired with Asajj, which we'll talk a little bit later about. But just from any non-combat damage, when you deal non-combat damage, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, deal 1 indirect damage to a player. That may not sound like a whole lot, but getting additional damage that they can't prevent could prove useful, late game. Having him deploy on 6 and then his backside, attached unit is a leader unit. When deployed as an upgrade, deal up to 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of units. He's a 4/4 pilot, 4/7 ground unit. Obviously with these deploy pilot units and leaders, they really want you to focus on using their pilot upgrades because they incentivize them. The ground units typically have no text, but I just think that getting extra damage to put out there and direct wherever, to any player that you want, they can't prevent it. You have things like Devastator where you can kind of direct that damage. You also have planetary bombardment if you have a capital ship. Really, you could really pair them with anything. So I think that, Thrawn or the new Piet, I want to pair them with Jango and kind of get the best out of it that I can. I just don't think that there is a bad way to build this deck for Twin Suns. He's one of those leaders that, no matter what you're doing, he could fit any game plan, any archetype that you want to fit, but I think Grit's going to be a huge one. And I can't wait to build around him. So I'm going to place him up here with Thrawn, kind of cream of the crop. I think we'll be seeing a lot of him. Now, Kaz was a leader that I wasn't super familiar with. As these sets come out, I've started going back and watching the things that I haven't got a chance to watch over the years. Resistance is actually pretty good. I'm not quite through the first season, but I see why they put Kaz in the game. I think he'll be a lot of fun. Now, with Kaz, he's a 4 deploy leader. His action ability is a friendly unit loses all abilities for this round. Now, what's even more huge than him deploying on 4 is the fact that after you use this ability, you can take an extra action after this one. So you can do that, blank a negative effect on, let's say, AT Hauler. There's a new contracted bounty hunter, Falcon from set 1. blanking the text until the end of round, not phase, round, allows you to get around that penalty aspect for paying the 1 for the Falcon. Now, I don't think it's going to be as huge in Twin Suns. I think him overall being a fast deploy leader and on his backside, he's a 2/5 on the ground. On attack, choose any number of friendly units. They lose all abilities for this round. Or as a pilot, he is an attached unit as a leader unit. It gains on attack. Choose any number of friendly units. They lose all abilities for this round. So you can pick and choose. Obviously, you don't want all of your units losing their abilities, depending on what you're playing. You don't want to play a red 3 attack with it and then, have it blank. So you can pick. You don't have to choose them all. But he's a 3/3 resistance pilot. Like I said, there's not a ton of resistance, so I don't think you want to build a resistance-based deck. But having, a fast deploy pilot that can kind of blank anything and then take an additional action. I'm huge on cheating actions and action economy. And he's going to be up here with the rest of them. I think for Twin Suns, he's not going to be as good as the rest of the top tier. But I think he's going to be very competitive. I think he's going to be fun to play with. And then before I forget, so Fireball, the 2-drop 3/3 ambush that takes 1 damage at the end of the phase. Literally made for him. It came from resistance as well. So to me, that's going to be a huge synergy. That's gonna work. Now, obviously, there's not a ton of cards that you want to blank, but you could, if your opponent plays a bounty on you, or if you're playing a card that has a bounty and you've already gotten the ability, like you've gotten the benefits of, let's say, the unit for, it's a green, I can't even think of it off the top of my head, but it's a Mandalorian trooper unit. It gets restore, but its negative is that it has a bounty where it draws a card. If that's something that fits into your deck and the colors you're playing for your aspects, attack with it, get your restore, blank him so you can't, nobody, if he gets killed, he just gets killed. He doesn't die. They don't get the bounty, but you get the upside, and then you don't have any of the downside. So to me, to have that opportunity to kind of mitigate some of that stuff, it's pretty awesome. Just like Boba, we have another Han Solo for this set. So Han, he's kind of unique. The other ones they kind of did with the action economy. Set 1, you got to tap him, take a card out of your hand, put it into resource ready. You can play things ahead of turn. Set 2, in Shadows, you got to deal damage to a unit and pay it for 1 less. So they've kind of taken a different approach to it with Han Solo. He's one of the highlight decks. So his action, exhaust him, reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with a unit. If the revealed card and that unit have different odd casting costs or deploy costs, that unit gets +1/+0 for this attack. So he's a 5 deploy. He's a 3/7 ground unit with no text. He's a 3/4 pilot. Attached unit is a leader unit. When deployed as an upgrade for each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost, ready a resource. Now, it's kind of restrictive, so I don't hate it, but it's not something that I absolutely love. I think for Premiere it'll be kind of fun. You can have 3 of in Twin Suns. I think some people might enjoy the deck building challenge aspect to it, but it kind of limits what you can and can't play. Yeah, if you're going to build something around this, you probably want more of like 75% of the deck to match your game plan, maybe 80%. Honestly, I would probably lean into 85 to 90. Everybody's different. But having the ability to get these extra benefits doesn't make him absolutely terrible. Doesn't make him absolutely great. But I mean, he's pretty good. But you got to find the right build, what you're comfortable with. I don't think he's absolutely terrible, but I think he could definitely be better. You know, if you get the right build and you're comfortable with it, and you curve is right. You know, trying to set that up ahead of time can be a little tricky. Maybe you need to deploy a couple more 1 cost each turn before you get to the 3. Maybe you'll take a hit and play him out, and then you don't get the benefits from the leader. It really comes down to what you're trying to accomplish. So I do believe that he is definitely better than Admiral Trench. Maybe by the time he comes out and I get to play with him, maybe I'll feel a little different. Maybe he'll be kind of somewhere in the middle of the pack. I don't know yet. Luke is something that I was really hoping that we would see. I kind of, speculated on it. I thought the art for the Hoth Luke that was actually the pilot unit is what we would get for the leader, but I was pleasantly surprised. I don't hate it. I don't know if I like it more than I like Luke from set 1, but Luke Skywalker, he deploys on 6. He has action, exhaust. If you attacked with a fighter unit this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. On that flip on 6, he is a 5/6. He doesn't have an actual ground unit text, but he has... This upgrade can't be defeated by enemy card abilities. Attached unit is a leader unit. If it's a fighter, it gains on attack. You may deal 3 damage to a unit. He is a 4/5 force rebel pilot. Now, a lot of cool things here. He does have the force trait. He is a rebel pilot, so you might want to pair him with like a Leia rebel deck. Could be pretty huge. There's a lot of really good cards in the rebel package. I don't have things that I want to say negatively about this. I think that, Leia might be one of the best ways to build, maybe a faster other leader like Sabine, even if, that means you're going double aggression. The fact that there's over 60 fighter cards could make it pretty easy to build around. A lot of it's space. There are no fighter units for ground. They're troopers. But, maybe offset it to where it's, 33% ground, 66% space. Kind of find that synergy, getting that 3 extra damage to a unit to make sure you can clear the board. It's pretty good. You pair it with his ship, which I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now. Wow, look at me. But, not bad for a 6 deploy. I still think it's kind of high. To me, I have high hopes for it. I could see him being a little better with certain leaders. Obviously, every leader likes to have its match. Some leaders don't care. They just kind of stand alone. I think he could be okay in most decks where you have like kind of different synergies with different leaders, even though, having that fighter ability and pair it with literally anything else could still work. So I'm going to put him in high hopes. Another one that I really liked when they previewed it was Major Von Reg. He's a 4 deploy. So he's another one of those that you really want to play vehicles around. A lot of vehicles. About 240 in the set. So fighters, also transports, ground vehicle units. There's a lot of different things you can do with him. 4 deploy, play a vehicle unit from your hand, exhausting the leader, obviously, paying its cost. If you do, give another unit +1/+0 for this phase. So on the back side, it's a 2/5 ground unit with no text. The pilot, first order pilot, attached unit is a leader unit. It gains on attack. You may give another unit in this arena +1/+0 for the phase. You know, if you want to have one leader faster, the other one kind of slower, kind of fits the theme of making sure that you can get your leaders out per game. Some games, you know, finish on that 5 resource round, and most leaders don't deploy then. I just don't see a lot of downside here. I still feel that it could be worth it. You know, I don't think it's like an absolute must-have. You know, definitely Premier is probably where I would play this more. But you know, just for the sake of having fun and trying new things out, I'd probably tool around with them somewhere. Not sure yet, but maybe that would be something to do. Maybe with like a Tarkin leader. Do the experience. Maybe put him in with Palpatine. You know, just try different weird things. So, not super sold on it, but I do like the card. Now, Rio Durant, I really like his character. You know, when Solo first came out, I was like, you know what, that looks terrible. I don't want to see it. And then over time, you know, this game has really gotten me to watch a lot of different things that, you know, I hadn't watched over the years, and Solo was one of them. That movie was way better than I thought it was. It's not the best movie ever, but I feel that it did a pretty good job. It's kind of a good standalone movie with a little bit of backstory to Han Solo. Some of it's kind of corny, but I did like Rio. So Rio, even though he's not in the movie a lot, I was hoping that he'd be a little bit better. I was kind of surprised to see him, but his action is pay 1, exhaust, attack with a space unit. It gets +1, +0, and gains Saboteur for this attack. So really, in my eye, the only thing that he really has going for him is the fact that when you're doing his ability, you get to attack with a space unit. You know, it's tough paying 1 and exhausting the leader and getting 1 in Saboteur. You know, especially in Twin Suns, I usually don't see a ton of space cards. Obviously, with this set, we're going to see that shift a little bit. Maybe we'll see about a 50-50. People won't want to get blown out in one arena or the other. So we may kind of see that shift a little bit. But him deploying on 5 is pretty good. He's a 3/5 on the ground. He has Saboteur for his ground text. Attached unit is a leader. It gains Saboteur. If it's a transport, it also gets +1, +0. So he kind of loses that action economy of paying 1 and tapping and getting to attack with it. He himself just gives it to it, but he's also a 3/5 underworld pilot. I think he could see a little bit of play. I don't think he'll be super viable for a lot of deck types, just because, you know, he's pumping. Most people don't. They want a little more from their leaders in Twin Suns. So I had high hopes and dreams for him. I just don't know that it's something that, outside of just doing fun things, I would probably play a lot with him, you know, just for flavor, just for fun, just because you like your character. And my list isn't the end-all, be-all. It's just kind of how I feel about the leaders, what I think based on the things that I've seen over the last year for Twin Suns, more specifically in the last 6 months, what'll happen. But the next leader, Poe is just, he's insane. So he's not the strongest body for a pilot, but his ability and what he does differently versus every other leader out there currently, he's kind of in the vein of Admiral Trench of doing things differently. But Poe Dameron, action 1, exhaust, flip this leader. Now you have to pay attention. So flipping this leader and attaching him as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. So important things: you're not deploying, so this doesn't get deploy triggers. You're attaching him as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot. So you could do this every single turn if he's back in the leader zone. But his epic action, he still deploys on 5. He's a 4/6 with no ground text. Action 1, attach this upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. Use this ability once each round. So what this is telling me is that when you deploy him, he becomes a 2/1. But there's a lot of different things that you get to continue to do with him each turn, every round. Like, it's just not something that we're used to. But, you know, even an incremental buff, you know, if you don't have a lot going on, maybe you're drawing dead, this kind of can help offset some of that. But again, to get the most out of him, you need to have a vehicle or a spaceship, something for him to go to. The fact that he can do this and he still has an epic action is pretty nutty to me. So I think he'll be up here with some of these others. I think I'm going to put him ahead of Kaz. Kaz, I mean, he's fast, he's got some abilities, but you may not be able to use Kaz all the time. But Poe Dameron will probably be able to be used, use his action ability to attach him far more often right now than you can use Kaz. So I'll probably build a Poe Dameron, Wedge, and Tilly's deck and see what happens. Now, Rose Tico, when I saw Rose, I was kind of disappointed. I was like, nobody asked for this. I don't know why we're getting this. Yeah, the game wasn't built for me, but, you know, as a huge fan of Star Wars, I never really thought of seeing Rose as a leader. You know, I get why they picked her. She wanted to continue to help and do better and help the Resistance. But I didn't feel that her ability was all that powerful in Premiere. You know, there's going to be a lot of people who like her. We've seen in some of the streams from FFG that, you know, Rose is a very popular one amongst the team. I feel that in Twin Suns, she's going to be very helpful. I think that healing a vehicle unit is going to be pretty awesome. You know, especially, you know, ground units, space units, it's not limited to either of those. The other thing, too, is, like, pairing her with, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're healing another unit. You're healing a vehicle unit. Obi-Wan has Sentinel. Playing double vigilance, yeah, but I think there's some viability there. I think that'll be something that people will try to play out to continue to get healing out of. I may even flip over to that from my Yoda and Rey deck, which is Oops All Heals. Any restore card that I can that fits in my aspects, I cram it in there. You know, every unit that has restore that I can get in there, it's in there. I just think this is pretty cool. I think that I might actually change over to that. Not my favorite card in the entire set, not even my favorite leader, but I do like her. So her action is to exhaust, heal 2 damage from a vehicle unit that attacked this phase. Now, key phrase, attacked. The other cool part is that it doesn't have to be yours. So if you watched my other videos on Twin Suns, or I think right now there's only one other one that kind of talks about, like, tips and getting started. But one of my things is, you know, politics. Trying to play every side, everybody against themselves, more so than the deck plays, because consistency in Star Wars Unlimited isn't the reliable strategy that it is in a lot of other TCGs. So, like Magic, played Commander for a long time. You know, they have a lot of tutors, things for you to be able to consistently get the pieces and the answers that you need. We don't have that in Star Wars Unlimited. Even less so in Twin Suns, where it's a singleton format. So having the ability to remove damage from other people's units with Rose could go a long way to help you get others to buy you time to be able to do things. You know, using politics as a piece to talk your way into either a tie or a win, coming from behind and people don't really see it. You know, to me, that's really what kind of lures me into the multiplayer aspect of it. Not only that, but you get to do different things that in Twin Suns that you don't normally get to do. And I think that Rose can kind of fit that niche for a lot of people. And I know I would definitely be doing that. I've even used my Mando and Bo-Katan deck, and I've played upgrades on other people's stuff to try and buy me a turn or two so they're not attacking me, and gain people's trust that way. Now, she is the 5 deploy, so when she deploys, she's a 4/6. She's not a pilot, so on attack, you may heal 2 damage from a vehicle unit. So again, being consistent, not costing anything for her ability, just simply attacking gives you the ability. So obviously you'll want to attack first or have damage left over from the prior phase, turn, phase, round, whatever, whenever you took damage on a vehicle unit. Because this one doesn't say that you have to attack. They've had to attack this turn. So a little better there. I think that being a step up without having had to attack with them is huge in her viability. But I think she'll be played a lot. I think we'll see more for her. So I'm actually going to put her up in here on high hopes. I'm kind of torn because I don't know if I want to list her above Luke. Actually, it's tough. Well, let's leave her here for right now. Maybe by the end of the video I'll feel better. I'm not 100% sure, but I do like her. Now, Asajj is one that I kind of touched on a little bit earlier. So Asajj and Boba, I think they kind of complement each other a little bit. They accent each other. Asajj, I'm not huge on her by herself. I'm not huge on her for a lot of other leaders. Depending on what you're trying to do, maybe you want to pair Asajj with like Krennic. Her ability is action, deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. And then her epic action is deploy on 6. So she has good stats as a deploy on the ground. She's a 4/6 with grit. Her pilot ability is attached unit is a leader unit. It gains grit, and on attack you may deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. Now, key things for her, she's a force unit, knight, bounty hunter, and pilot. So there's not a lot of knight traits out there, but she is also a 3/4 pilot. So kind of late deploy for Twin Suns. I think that really she's going to be more specific to certain builds. She definitely has the potential to have some really high impact on some games. And, I mean, you pair her with Boba, Krennic. You could pair her with, like, Palpatine if you're trying to play Palpatine from set 1, from Spark. I mean, to set up some damage, to steal something. I don't know how many other leaders that you really want to pair with her, but there's some potential there. So I think I'm going to put her at a B+, more so ahead of Major Von Reg. And I think in the future we may see her change depending on, the viability, what we can come up with and who we pair her with. But she's more situational, really, than most others. So, like Boba, Thrawn, Poe Dameron, Kaz, they all have the ability to pair well with pretty much any other leader. And if you look kind of down towards the bottom, any of the other ones, they're more situational. They require a lot of setup. I just feel that she might have some good pairings that I haven't thought of, but I mean, she's definitely worth tooling around with. Now, this is one of my favorites from the set. Everybody has their own favorite leader that once they saw revealed. There's actually a couple of them. Thrawn and Boba, I really, really like. I do like Kaz a lot. Poe, I'm warming up to in Premiere, but I think here he's gonna be pretty cool. But Wedge, I've been brewing a lot of to try and see what I think I might want to do when Premiere rolls around for this set next week. But Wedge does a lot of things. He kind of checks a lot of boxes for me. So he's a 5 deploy leader. His action is to exhaust, play a card from your hand using the piloting ability. it costs 1 less to play from your hand. Now, he is a pilot. When he deploys to the ground, he's a 3/6 with blank text. As a leader, attached unit is a leader unit. It gains on attack. The next pilot card you play this phase costs 1 less. So he's uniform across the board. Doesn't require a lot of setup. But also, he's a 3/4 rebel pilot. So again, rebel pilot package. A lot of things that you can do with that. So this one, you really want to kind of gear it more towards piloting, more space vehicles, but having him in your pocket and literally any other leader and just play a rebel deck. There's just so many really good rebels that you can kind of cram them all in now into a singleton format. Even right now, for when Twilight came out, there's a bunch of people playing Sabine now. The list of good rebels before even Jump to Lightspeed launches is pretty good. Everybody knows the staples from Sabine and Premiere. They've added a couple here and there over the last couple sets, but there's going to be a lot more coming out in Jump to Lightspeed to make it even more viable. So I think Wedge Antilles cheating the action economy and paying less for things is going to be huge. I'm definitely going to put him up here. I'm going to put him in the middle just because he's more specific to having piloting, but I think, cheating out stuff, not necessarily cheating, but reducing your cost for pilot upgrades is going to be awesome. One of my personal favorites was Admiral Piet. Admiral Piet, I think he's going to be astronomically high on people's lists for Twin Suns. So, Admiral Piet, he's a 5 deploy leader. Action, play a capital ship unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. I just don't know if really anything can get better than just simple cost reduction leaders. It doesn't cost anything. You can do it once per turn. His backside is even better, so when he deploys, he's a 5. He's a 2/7 Imperial Official. Each capital ship unit you play costs 2 less. That's huge. That is a huge cost reduction. I think he's statted appropriately at 2/7. Take a hit or two. Obviously, you want to time your turn. You want to make sure you're deploying him into an optimal field. You don't want to run him out and have him killed and not get the ability to save 2 on your units. Even playing him and having him get defeated and going back to the leader zone, you still get that benefit, unlike a lot of these ones where you have to exhaust them to get that benefit. So there's no real action timing for making sure that if he's back in the zone, that he has the ability to exhaust. You just get the benefit. So to me, I don't know. I have a tough time between him and Thrawn. I think that with how he is, I mean, I think there's 25. I can't remember off the top of my head. 25 capital ships that you could play in the villain package. But also, the other thing that you could really do with Piet is you can play things out of aspect. I've even thought about putting it home 1 in his deck if you ever make it that far. There are some games where if you have a lot of sentinels, it can have the chance to prolong how long the game really goes. And some of them, I think tonight we made it to, I think 7 resources on our game. But yeah, I mean, the average game is 5 to 7, so depending if you ramp or not, where you're going to get. If you get any ramp with Piet out and a good capital ship, forget it. You're going to be target number 1, but you're also going to have the ability to kind of set up and take control. So make sure that you're setting up your deploy and cheated unit turns wisely. So we only have 2 left. We have Phasma and Vader. Phasma, I had high hopes for. You know, she's kind of, I thought she was going to be an aggro leader. Twin Suns is not like super huge on aggro. If you start aggroing out in Twin Suns, you're just going to get hated out of the game. Everybody's going to knock you back in line with everybody. And that's the other thing that I like about Twin Suns, making sure that you're not taking out one person and just focusing them down, because then other people can sneak in and take your kill, and then you've done all this work, and then you're out, and you're not going to get the win. So Phasma is a first order trooper. Her action is exhaust. If you deploy a first order card this phase, if you played a first order card this phase, deal 1 damage to a base. Okay, cool, seems good. Backside, 5 deploy, 4/6 on attack. If you played another first order card this phase, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a base. So a little extra damage there. I do like that. But really, the first order cards, there's really not a lot that can support a first order Twin Suns deck. I just don't think that the support is there. She's nice. She's statted decently. And I just don't think she has enough to stand alone on her own. And in the future, obviously we'll get more first order. It'll become more viable. So I think in another set or two, we'll kind of revisit right before everything rotates out. Obviously, first 3 sets will rotate out in Premiere, with Twin Suns being in Eternal format. It's not going to matter. So we could do, the first 5 sets. We can kind of do a review every set moving forward to see where everybody kind of stands out. That's really going to be a lengthy video, but we'll probably just do a, hey, here's where I think that the current standings are. What are your thoughts? Stuff like that. But for now, Phasma she just doesn't have it. So I'm going to put her in the hopes and dreams category. It's tough. I wanted a lot more for her. It's just not in the cards right now. Last leader. We have Vader. So a lot of hype around Luke and Vader this set, obviously, especially Vader being in the command and not in the aggression. Darth Vader deploys on 6, Force, Imperial, Sith Pilot. Darth Vader action, exhaust. If you attacked with a non-token vehicle unit this phase, create a TIE Fighter token. So it does take a little bit of setup to get his ability. The nice thing is it doesn't cost anything to exhaust him. To me, that's kind of important. But deploying on 6 versus 7 with the first Vader leader. The backside, you get a 5/6 unit with no ground text. The deploy as a pilot. Attached unit is a leader unit. When deployed as an upgrade, create 2 TIE Fighter tokens. So, again, still kind of late on the 6. It is a strong pilot leader. At 5/5, you get the benefit of creating 2 fighter tokens, TIE Fighter tokens. Something that, you don't get that with a lot of other leaders when they deploy. You don't get a lot of immediate board improvement as far as units. So in Twin Suns right now, some of that comes from using like droid manufactory to kind of get, battle droid tokens to improve your board state in order to exploit them or just attack with them. But this gives you an immediate board presence. It improves that in case you're down. But obviously you need at least 1 unit if you're going to deploy him as a pilot. But I think I have high hopes for him. Especially with Luke and Vader being kind of key, important characters in the franchise. I'm hoping that there's a little more to it than just what's at face value. But getting
all right, everyone. Thanks for coming by and watching the new video. Like I said, this isn't the end all be all. I'm not the best player at Twin Suns. I think I do all right. But everything here is just my opinion, how I see things potentially shaking out based on the games I've played, the abilities, and having spent a lot of time reviewing and talking about the new set with friends. But tell me what you think. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what you think I got wrong. Tell me some ideas that you guys have. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and until next time, mulligan responsibly.